My name is Patrick Lopath. I'm a co-founder and chief operating officer for TEClens. I'd like to thank OIS for the invitation to present TEClens as a company to watch for the future. At TEClens, we are developing the next generation of refractive correction system based on corneal crosslinking. With our unique and highly proprietary on-eye approach to crosslinking, we hold a number of unassailable advantages in this space. For the patient, we eliminate the fear factor associated with interventional refractive correction. Our device is comfortable, one-time use only. We monitor the progress of the procedure in real time to deliver an accurate prescription. For the practitioner looking to get into the refractive corrective space, our device is low cost. It can provide much higher margins than LASIK, requires minimal clinical resources, and allows you to cycle patients through rapidly. Before we dive in our solution, let's take a look at the problem. Myopia today is a growing global epidemic. In 1970, a quarter of the US population was nearsighted. Now that's over 40%. In the developed nations of East Asia, 90% of urban school children are nearsighted. This epidemic is the key driver behind the $20 billion global refractive correction market. The vast majority of this is spent in low-tech, non-invasive solutions like eyeglasses and contact lenses. Only a tiny and shrinking sliver is spent on invasive approaches like LASIK. Fear is the primary inhibitor behind LASIK. People are simply afraid of having their eyes cut. Combine this with extremely high cost of laser systems and very thin margin for practitioners, and the average eye care practice draws zero revenue from interventional refractive correction. At TEClens, we aspire to change that and free millions of people worldwide from their glasses and contacts. First, a little background on corneal crosslinking. Crosslinking was first developed in the 1990s as a treatment for keratoconus. Keratoconus is a progressive disease of the cornea characterized by a weakening of the tissue and a bulging forward of the cornea resulting in extreme nearsightedness. Crosslinking uses a photochemical reaction to strengthen the cornea and halt the progression of this disease. Prior to crosslinking, the only hope these patients had of avoiding eventual blindness was corneal transplantation. Since 1998, thousands of patients have been safely and successfully treated for keratoconus with crosslinking. With the FDA approval just this past spring of a device from one of our competitors, crosslinking is now the worldwide gold standard for the treatment of keratoconus. As many patients were treated for keratoconus, clinicians began to realize that not only was crosslinking halting the progression of their disease, it was allowing these patients to see better. This improvement in visual acuity was resultant from a flattening of these very steep corneas. While the treatment of keratoconus is certainly an important practice, from an economic standpoint, it only affects about 1 in 2,000 people, so it wasn't long before crosslinking companies realized that if this flattening effect could be harnessed and optimized, the door would be open to the huge global myopia market. We formed TEClens right as this flattening was hitting the literature, which gave us a huge advantage. Instead of adapting a system designed for a different indication, we built TEClens from the ground up with a dedicated refractive correction system. To avoid the limitations faced by past interventional technologies, we wanted to change the procedure from the perspective of everyone involved. We started with the patient. All other interventional techniques force the patient to lie on their back with their eyelids speculum open, staring up at a light or a laser beam. This is an uncomfortable and scary position for the patient. Our co-founder, Dr. Roy Chuck, completely upended this traditional patient interface with his concept of putting the crosslinking hardware directly on a contact lens. This allows for a much more familiar and comfortable interface to the patients. Patients can sit up, they can blink, they can even read with the other eye while they're being treated. Our device sits on a scleral contact lens with a fiber optic cable attached to it small enough that the patient can blink over the device or even close their eyes during treatment. The treatment only need to be done once per eye for 30 minutes or less, and the lens is disposed of. We also wanted to change the economics of the refractive business. The market will not readily absorb another capital equipment-based refractive system. At cost approaching $1.5 million, another $250,000 for an annual maintenance bill, lasers are the extreme, but most high-end crosslinking systems today are still cost prohibitive for the average eye care practice. Our system is small, it's portable, it's low cost, about 50 times less than a refractive laser. Because the patient doesn't have to lie down, multiple patients can be treated simultaneously in a waiting room with clinical staff rotating between patients. This greatly improves patient throughput. Finally, Our low-cost disposable provides a real margin for practitioners who have been otherwise squeezed out of the refractive market. Our unique on-eye approach to crosslinking allows us to do one more very important thing. It allows us to deliver an accurate prescription to the patient. Our device sits directly on the eye, so we can monitor the changes in corneal stiffness in real time. All other CXL systems today are what we call open-loop systems. They make no effort to assess the changes in the eye as they occur. This works fine for keratoconus, however, more control over corneal stiffness is needed for predictive refractive corrections. There needs to be a feedback mechanism for refractive crosslinking to work effectively. Because we are on the eye, we use ultrasound elastography to monitor these changes in real time. Because we sit on the sclera and not on the cornea, our device is very stable and doesn't touch the region of interest. This allows us to eliminate variable contact pressure and patient motion artifact from our data. And we collect a lot of data. Because we are so close to the eye and the speed of sound is so fast, we can collect up to 500,000 data lines per second. Now, we don't need that much data, but it's available to us, and the speed helps us to further eliminate patient motion. We can also reject bad data if we need to. We have intellectual property covering a number of areas of ultrasound monitoring for crosslinking, including basic simple standoff pachymetry all the way through flexural membrane modeling. We are now working to perfect the refractive control algorithm. I'd like to briefly introduce our team. Our core group is led by Dr. David Acker. David is a serially successful entrepreneur, having founded and led a number of philanthropic and commercial endeavors. His most significant success was that of inventor and co-founder of Biosense, now Biosense Webster, that produces the world gold standard in cardiac mapping catheter with David's technology. Biosense was sold to Cordis in 1997 for $427 million, and today contributes $2.5 billion to J&J's bottom line. I'm an ultrasound engineer by training. After a number of stints in small companies in technical roles, an MBA, a stint in management consulting, I realized that medical device startup technologies are where I'm most happy. Young Zhu has worked with David and I for many years. He is an extremely experienced medical device systems and control engineer. He leads our software development. We've also been very lucky with our medical advisory board. This group is led by Dr. Roy Chuck. He's the chairman of ophthalmology at Albert Einstein College of Medicine and Montefiore Medical Center. It was his idea for on-eye crosslinking that started us on this path. Joining him on our advisory board is Dr. Peter McDonald. Dr. McDonald is the director of the Wilmer Eye Institute at Johns Hopkins and one of the world's leading ophthalmologists. He's a co-founder of Graybug and is also a board member at Allergan. Dr. Debbie Jacobs joins us from the Boston Foundation for Sight. As a world leader in contact design and development and use for keratoconus and other corneal diseases, Dr. Jacobs has been instrumental in the development of our scleral contact lens platform.